What's up, guys, and welcome in to another edition of the Rally Time Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Babin Jr. Lloyd, Courtney, you are in the producer's chair once again, making his second guest appearance. Thanks for helping out here, Christian. I don't know if necessarily last week might have been his last time on the podcast, at least for this season. Because with finals week being over...
He's job hunting.
Yeah, with finals week being over, he's in either Lafayette or Shreveport or something like that. So appreciate him being a part of the show with me this season. And I appreciate Lloyd for stepping in and making his second guest appearance. I didn't scare him off too much the first time. We're coming off a big weekend, right? LSU baseball is coming off a huge weekend, arguably their biggest weekend of the year, beating Arkansas 2 out of 3 in the box. And thinking about how we're going to break this show down, because only one show this week, and thinking about it, I think we're going to prioritize the first half of the show to kind of breaking down the Arkansas series. Because as I said, it was probably the most important series, that or the Tennessee series, the top two most important series of the season. And it'd be a shame if I didn't take the time, at least 20 minutes, to break all that down. And then South Carolina preview is going to be shorter, much shorter, a little bit different because, I like to be careful because baseball, anything can happen. But the South Carolina team LSU is playing this weekend is not very good. They're 27-26 overall and 5-22 in SEC play. So they have the second to worst record. The only team with a worse record in the SEC in conference play is Missouri, who is sitting at 3-24 after somehow miraculously sweeping Texas A&M in College Station. The ultimate fumble by the Aggies against Missouri. But anyway,
Missouri get hot.
Don't let Missouri get hot, yeah. I joked with some friends, I was like, imagine Missouri just makes a little mini run in Hoover or something like that. I was like, win the tournament. That'd be crazy. But no, we're gonna talk a little bit about South Carolina towards the end of the show, but really want to get into all that happened this past weekend when LSU faced Arkansas in a 3-game series. And make no mistake, in my mind, these are two teams that will see each other again, or might see each other again in Omaha, because that Arkansas team is one of the best teams in the country. It's probably the best lineup LSU has faced and will face all season. Let's get into kind of breaking it down game by game a little bit. So game one, man, 3 for 3 now on these late night magic rides. Alex Box. There was, I believe, Mississippi State in week 3 of conference play. There was a late night game. That game wasn't that close. LSU kind of took control of that game early and never relinquished control of it. But the past two late night, midnight, after dark games against Tennessee and Arkansas have been come from behind wins. And that's what we saw in game 1 on Friday night, early Saturday morning. And, it's a shame that we've kind of gotten robbed of Friday night crowds at the box for the 2 biggest series of the season. That's the thing that's kind of a shame. But Jay Johnson made the quote recently that LSU's the best team in the country at 1:17 in the morning. So they've proven that. That's what they've done. That's what they've shown. So, yeah, kind of getting into game 1, use some more late night magic to come back, and LSU won 5-4 in 10 innings. Cade Anderson got the start on the mound versus Zach Root was the starter for Arkansas. Yeah, first pitch was moved all the way from 6:30 all the way to first pitch wasn't thrown until 9:55, 5 minutes before the deadline. The deadline to get SEC games started is, I believe, 10 p.m. They used almost all of that time before throwing the first pitch. Yeah, Cade Anderson started well. He pitched 3 scoreless innings in the first 3 innings with 5 strikeouts to start the game. LSU started the scoring in the game with a run in the third off of a Chris Stanfield double, followed by a Jared Jones RBI single. Then Arkansas's Cam Kozel tied it at 1 with a solo bomb in the fourth off of Anderson. And then Ethan Fry gave the lead back to LSU in the bottom of the fourth with a solo shot of his own off of Zach Root to give LSU the 2-1 lead in the bottom of the fourth. And something you'll notice as we go through covering what happened this past weekend is two guys that I want to really focus on, Ethan Fry and Jake Brown. Those two guys, we've talked about Jared Jones, we talked about Dickinson, we talked about, the main two guys, Jared Jones and Derek Carroll. That's who we talked about. But Ethan Fry and Jake Brown have come into their own over the past few weeks. I mean, they both were pretty much the leaders at the plate, I would argue, this past weekend for LSU against Arkansas. And Fry got it started with, again, solo bomb off of Zach Root in the fourth that gave LSU the 2-1 lead at the time. Arkansas did score a run in the fifth, though, off of 2 hits and a Charles Davalon sac fly RBI. Lloyd for Arkansas hit a solo homer in the sixth off of Anderson to give Arkansas the lead, the 4-2 lead at the time after the Lloyd sixth inning homer. Cade Anderson, I thought Cade was solid. I thought Cade had a good game. He pitched 5 2/3 innings, gave up 3 runs on 7 hits, 1 walk, and 10 strikeouts. The thing with Cade and Cason Evans from this weekend, and we'll get into Cason later in Game 3, is a little bit less efficient. The thing that Cade was good in the game, but he threw 99 pitches over the first 5 innings. And if you want your starter to go deep in a game, throwing 99 pitches in the first 5 innings is not a good formula for that, right? Threw 99 pitches over the first 5 innings, and then Anderson actually came out of the game with 2 outs in the 6th, holding his wrist and moving it around. Really concerning sign at the time. Something didn't feel right with Cade. The good news is we think he's going to be A-okay. Sounds like it was just cramps in his arm or in his wrist or something. Didn't sound like it was anything too serious. But I do want to make the point that Cade Anderson's been coming out every weekend and throwing over 100 pitches. And, he's the only guy on the team. I mean, Ianson has had a couple outings throwing over 100 pitches. But besides that, Cade Anderson throwing 100 pitches every single weekend. My concern, I'm glad he ended up being okay. But my concern at the time was, is this going to catch up to him? Throwing 100 pitches every single weekend. Threw 134 pitches against Oklahoma, and that was great, and one of the best outings we've seen from a starting pitcher at LSU in a long time. But over the course of a season, throwing over 100 pitches every weekend is just, that was a little bit concerning at the time, but it seems like Anderson is going to be okay in the end. So that was good news that it was nothing too serious. Arkansas did increase their lead in the 7th with scoring another run off of Chase Shores to make it 4-2 via a single, a wild pitch, and a sacrifice ground out to bring the runner home. The starting pitcher for Arkansas was Zach Root. Zach Root gave LSU lineup a little bit of trouble. Zach Root was really good. He pitched 6 innings. Did well against the LSU lineup. Root only gave up 2 runs on 5 hits and 6 strikeouts in 6 innings. So Arkansas was up 4-2 going into the bottom of the 7th. And then one of their best relief pitchers all season, Aiden Jimenez, came in for Root to start the 7th. As we said, Jimenez has been really good all season. He and Gabe Gackle have been the 2 best arms out of the bullpen for Arkansas this season, but Jimenez, for some reason, really struggled in Game 1 against LSU. In the 7th inning with Arkansas up 4-2, the inning started with a single by Jake Brown, and then Jimenez walked the next 2 batters before Derek Carroll did what it seems like he always does. He had a 2 RBI single off of Jimenez through the left side to tie the game at 4. So, yeah, I mean, it was surprising to see Jimenez come into the game and struggle because he's been one of their best pitchers. But LSU, after getting past Zach Root, was able to put a couple runs on the board off of Jimenez. Zach Cowan was really good in the final 3 innings of this game for LSU. He did not allow a run in the final 3 innings, only gave up 2 hits, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts, which... It's a good bounce back for Cowan because Cowan's been a great pitcher all season, obviously. But I would say his shakiest his shakiest weekend series by far was the one against A&M in College Station. Like, he gave up a few runs in Game 1 and Game 3 against A&M, and it was good seeing him bounce back and really return to being as effective as he's been pretty much all season, and return to form. It was good to see that out of Zach Cowan. Arkansas relief pitcher Gabe Gackle was really good for the Razorbacks out of the pen until the 10th inning. In the 10th inning, the bottom of the 10th, it was tied at 4. Jared Jones singled to start the inning. Jones advanced to second base on a wild pitch, and then he got to third on a Daniel Dickinson ground out. And then to end the game, to walk it off, Ethan Fry hit a sac fly RBI that allowed Jared Jones to tag up and won LSU the game. Again, Fry had a really good game in Game 1. He had 2 hits in the game with 2 RBIs, including a double and a homer. So, and he got the walk-off sac fly RBI to win the game. So again, coming back, I picked last week. I picked LSU to lose the series 2 out of 3. I thought Arkansas was going to grab 2, LSU was going to win 1 because of the momentum that Arkansas was carrying into the weekend against LSU after sweeping number 1 in the country, Texas, the Texas Longhorns, the week before, and after LSU struggles in College Station. But obviously, bouncing back and coming back and winning this game was huge, especially for the LSU offense, who had really struggled in College Station. And what's going to become obvious is this offense just plainly hits much better at home. Like the past 2 road series at Auburn and at Texas A&M, the lineup, the offense has not been that good for LSU. It just hasn't. And the biggest thing about this weekend, is it got you that much closer. In my mind, it got you pretty much, barring an utter collapse against South Carolina, pretty much a lock for a top 8 seed. Like, and that's big, comparing the numbers for this LSU offense compared to being in the box versus playing on the road. It's a lot different. They're a lot better at home. And getting 2 out of 3 against, in my mind, a top 5 team in the country like Arkansas, a team who's probably going to be in Omaha themselves, winning 2 out of 3 in that series was a big way into making it to where you don't have to play any postseason baseball on the road until you get to Omaha to play in the College World Series. Great comeback in Game 1. Late inning magic worked again. Game 2. Saturday, maybe the best game LSU has played all year. I think Mikey Matsuk was on with y'all the other day, Lloyd, recapping the game, and he said Saturday was probably the best game LSU has played all season, and I couldn't agree more when he said that. LSU won Saturday night 13-3 via the run rule in 7 innings.
And the way that they were even able to kind of get that win at the end, it just kind of showed that was one of the games in the series that felt like everything was tilted towards LSU to get a run rule and a strikeout, and that's the way that you're able to cap it off against, like you said, Arkansas, top 10 team in the country, potentially Omaha, and to put up a run rule against a team of that caliber shows what LSU is capable of when all the pieces come together.
Yeah. To do that they did it against Tennessee too. Like they run ruled Tennessee, and look, Tennessee has not been, they're still a good team. They're still a top 20 team. They've been struggling a little bit if you've been keeping up with SEC play, but they're still going to be, in the postseason and still defending national champions. And in the 2 biggest series, I would argue, of the regular season for LSU, they've gotten a run rule victory against top 10 teams. And that shows the ability that when this LSU team is on, they are perhaps the best team in the country. Anthony Ianson got the start on the mound in Game 2. Gage Wood got the start on the mound for Arkansas in Game 2, but really struggled to Gage Wood. Jake Brown got it started with a 3-run bomb off of Wood in the first to make it 3-0 LSU. As we talked about before, Jake Brown and Ethan Fry really were the 2 standout players at the plate this weekend for me. Jay Johnson has been really platooning Jake Brown and Ethan Fry, Josh Pearson, kind of guys like that. But in my mind, and we'll kind of get into this as the show goes along, in my mind, you have to get to the point where Ethan Fry and Jake Brown need to be in this lineup every day, because they were the producers this weekend. LSU scored 13 runs in this game 2 on Saturday. 9 of those runs were driven in by 2 guys, Ethan Fry and Jake Brown. Those were the 2 guys that drove in 9 out of 13 runs in this game for LSU. Yeah, I mean, I just think at this point, the best lineup for me, I mean, in my opinion, is heading into the postseason, solidifying the lineup. Curiel, Jones, Dickinson, Fry, Brown, Milam, Braswell, Hernandez, and Stanfield. Like, in my mind, that's your lineup. Like, those are the guys who have been contributing all season and been producing. Now the thing for me is that means you take Josh Pearson, the veteran, out of the lineup. And the reason I don't like that is because I don't know why, there's just a couple players on LSU's teams every now and then that I develop kind of like one of my favorite players on the team, or I develop a kind of strong sense of I really like this guy. Like 2023, Gavin Dugas was not the best player on the team in 2023, but he was arguably my favorite. I just loved Gavin Dugas. I loved what he did at the program, all of his seasons that he was here, and I was a Gavin Dugas guy. And I kind of feel similar about Josh Pearson, a veteran, a guy who was on the national championship team. So I'm kind of conflicted as far as your best lineup, as I said before, has Ethan Fry and Jake Brown in it every single day. But that means Josh Pearson gets less at-bats. And I don't know what that means, because you need him. You need him to be ready in postseason play, because he's that veteran presence on the team. But it's just undeniable at this point with what Jake Brown and Ethan Fry did this weekend. Cade Arrambide hit a solo bomb off of Gage Wood in the second. Good job stepping up for Arrambide. Luis Hernandez has gotten most of the starts at catcher in SEC play, but Arrambide being able to step up and in his first at bat after getting the start on Saturday, hit a homer. Really impressive, and we've kind of seen it this season. I mean, Ashton Larson steps up a few weeks ago. Dalton Beck stepped up against Tennessee, and Cade Arrambide in his first at bat of a start against Arkansas gets a solo shot. So really good by Arrambide. Gage Wood, starter for Arkansas, only pitched 2 innings. LSU really got after Gage Wood. Jake Brown hit another bomb in the 3rd inning. It was Brown. Brown hit 2 homers in Game 2 Saturday night. Again, Jake Brown just had an amazing weekend, especially on Saturday in Game 2. He had 5 RBIs, which is a career high for Jake Brown in a single game. So really good for Brown. LSU scored another run in the 4th, off of a single, an error, and 2 walks. And then LSU had a big 5th inning. They scored 6 more runs in the 5th inning off of 3 hits and 3 walks, including a 3-run bomb for Ethan Fry. So again, the guys who stepped up, Ethan Fry and Jake Brown, were my MVPs personally at the plate this weekend for LSU. They stepped up and they showed in my mind that they need to be in the lineup pretty much every day at this point because of how much they've been contributing to this team. 6-run 5th inning for LSU. It was his 2nd straight game with a homer, so he had a home run in Game 1 and Game 2. Anthony Ianson was fantastic once again in another start. He pitched 6 scoreless innings on Saturday night against the Razorbacks, only gave up 5 hits, 1 walk, and 11 strikeouts, and in my mind, Anthony Ianson has been just as good as Cade Anderson lately. If you're asking me what heading into the postseason I have the most confidence in, I would make a strong argument that I think this 1-2 combination of Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson might possibly be the best in the country heading into postseason. And I know we talk about the LSU lineup all the time and how deep they are and all of that, but looking at what Anthony Ianson has done in the past few weeks, we know what we're going to get out of Cade Anderson. But what Anthony Ianson has done in his past 2 starts is just flat out dominate 2 really good lineups. I mean, he had 14 strikeouts in the game against A&M. He had 11 strikeouts against Arkansas, and he didn't allow a run against Arkansas. He only allowed 1 run in 9 innings in a complete game against the Aggies. So Anthony Ianson and Cade Anderson are perhaps, in my mind, the best, maybe the best 1-2 punch in America, starting-wise. I mean, it just sets up a lethal 1-2 punch in the rotation heading into the postseason.
I was going to ask you, better 1-2 punch that you've seen over the last 2 years, would it be Luke Holman, Gage Jump, or would you take Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson?
I'm taking Cade and Anthony. That's what I'm taking. I just feel like, first of all, I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers, but I know they're both like at least top 10 in the nation or something in strikeouts. I mean, the dude's just absolutely full hitters at the plate. They are getting double-digit strikeouts in every single game. And I'll just say, I just love Anthony. His curveball is absolutely filthy. Like his curveball is... I'm just marveling at it while I'm watching the game on Saturday night and while I'm watching the game against A&M. I have so much confidence in those 2 pitchers, in Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson. And I know Holman and Jump were great, but I'd have to take Cade and Anthony at this point, in my mind.
Yeah, and it's funny because if you were posed that same question probably 3 weeks ago, it probably would have been the opposite answer. But with how good Anthony Ianson's been, it almost it shifts the conversation, because I do think what you have with Cade Anderson at the top is better than either Holman or Jump.
Yeah.
But then now that Ianson's come on, and I don't know if you saw him in any of the scrimmages before the year, but he does it with such ease. He makes it look so easy when he's on the mound, like he's not necessarily working hard. He clearly is, but it's just his ability to have a repeatable delivery and then to throw any pitch for a strike at any count is what makes him a very dominant and strikeout pitcher, because you don't know what's coming and you can't really spit on anything because he can throw everything for a strike at any count.
Yeah, absolutely. The combination of Maverick Rizzi, Jaden Newt, and DJ Primo did give up 3 runs on 3 hits and a walk in the 7th. But then Daniel Dickinson scored on a crazy play to end the game in the bottom of the 7th. So Steven Milam struck out, but it was on a wild pitch that got away from the catcher. And then Daniel Dickinson's being aggressive, kind of gets caught in a rundown. You think, oh no. But then the catcher throws to the third baseman, kind of a wide throw that allows Dickinson to run home and barely beat the tag to win the game for LSU and get them the 13-3 run rule win in 7 innings. So again, Jake Brown, great game, 3 hits, 2 bombs, and a career high 5 RBIs. Fry had 2 hits and 4 RBIs Saturday. Curiel had 2 hits, and Cade Beatty had 3 hits. And stepping in for Luis Hernandez for 1 game, Aaron Beatty had 3 hits, including a homer. So that was nice to see by the freshman, who obviously is gonna be good. Yeah, good from Cade. Now, Game 3 Sunday, Arkansas did win 7-4. Casey Evans got the start against Arkansas. Starter was Landon Beidelshees. That was the starter. I had to sound it out before I said it. Landon Beidelshees. I had to sound it out before I said it. Evans was pretty solid in the first 2 innings of the game. You know, a good stat for Evans. He threw first pitch strikes to the first 8 Arkansas batters he faced, which was really good as far as command, as far as getting ahead in the count. It's so important for pitchers to throw first pitch strikes. And Evans did that. LSU got the scoring started. They put up 2 runs in the second off of 2 solo blasts by Luis Hernandez and Steven Milam. Evans did kind of, the third inning was where it kind of fell apart for Casey Evans. Evans gave up 4 runs in the third inning, did Evans, off of 3 singles, 2 doubles, a walk, and a sac fly. Through 3 starts the past 3 weekends for Casey Evans. He had an amazing start against Tennessee. And I think you leave him in there as a starter for now. I do agree that I think Casey Evans can definitely be serviceable in the starting pitching role on a Sunday, your game 3 starter. He had a great start against Tennessee. The only thing is, against Texas A&M and against Arkansas, so in his last 2 starts, he threw over 70 pitches in the first 3 innings. And we kind of talked about it before with Kate Anderson throwing 99 pitches in the first 5 innings. It's not that they're necessarily getting hit off of a ton. It's that, I don't know, you just have to be a little bit more efficient. Like, if you want to go deeper in games, if you want to get into at least the 5th or the 6th, you have to be able to throw, these guys can throw strikes. But it's just like, you have to be a little bit more efficient. So, like, what I'm paying attention to is, like, you don't want your starting pitcher to throw, you don't want him to throw above 60 pitches through the first 3 innings. Casey Evans has thrown around 75 pitches through the first 3 innings in his past 2 starts. So I believe Evans can, figure it out, and he's definitely, he's got the stuff, he's got the skill. It's just his last 2 starts against, yes, Arkansas is a great lineup. Like, that's another point that needs to be made. They're a great lineup. Evans just kind of needs to settle in a little bit and just be a little bit more efficient as far as keeping that pitch count down. LSU did score a run in the 3rd via 3 singles by Daniel Dickinson, Jake Brown, and Luis Hernandez. But yeah, Casey Evans only pitched 3 2/3 innings. Evans gave up 4 runs on 7 hits, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. On a positive note Sunday, I've really liked what I've seen out of Chase Shores in the bullpen. I've really liked him in a bullpen spot. Chase Shores started a lot of games the first half of the season, the first half of SEC play. Had some good outings, had some shaky ones. But I really like what I've seen out of him the past 3 weekends in relief. Shores pitched 3 1/3 innings on Sunday and gave up only 1 run on 2 hits, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. And he looks a lot better and a lot more confident coming out of the bullpen. Like, I don't know what it is, but some guys coming out of the bullpen just look more comfortable, and then some guys starting just look more comfortable. And I don't know. I just really like what I've seen out of Shores out of the bullpen lately.
And it does beg the question, now that you've seen Evans in back-to-back appearances kind of struggle a little bit, and certainly you've seen that move to the third starter from Case Evans, and I thought that was somebody that also, when he came out of the bullpen, was, you could kind of chalk it up to, it felt like a win. Whenever he could come in a game and throw 4 to 5 innings out the bullpen, it felt like you were very secured in getting those, whether it be a win on Saturday or coming in on Sunday and being able to kind of hold it together. But now that you've seen him, I don't want to say struggle, but not be as efficient as he was in his first start, do you think that there's a world in which they move anybody else into that third starter role that's not Casey Evans or Chase Shores? Because you do have one other arm that has starting experience and came from
Zach Cowan. He threw 110 innings last year at Wofford, and he was their ace. So he has experience in that role. So you could try it. Like, you absolutely could. I think the combination of Shores, Cowan, and Evans have all looked good out of the bullpen. Mm-hmm. It's saying which one of those guys is your best third starter. Which one of those guys is the most consistent as your third starter. That's the one you got to figure out. I wouldn't move Evans out of that spot yet because, again, he did have a great start against Tennessee. Just kind of, that's the thing you have to figure out. But yeah, Shores was good in relief. When you got a guy throwing 99 out of the bullpen like Chase Shores, there's only so much Arkansas hitters could have done. Like, that's an advantage for LSU. And I like what I've seen out of Shores out of the bullpen the last 3 weeks. The LSU lineup did quiet down a little bit in innings 4 through 7 before they scored 1 run in the 8th off of singles by Josh Pearson and Stephen Milam, along with an RBI groundout by Chris Stanfield. But then, unfortunately, 4 LSU relievers combined to give up 2 runs in the 9th off of 1 hit, a stolen base, and 4 walks. Arkansas eventually held on to win the game 7-4. So, yeah, all in all, you would have loved to get the sweep, but all in all, it was a massive success this weekend for LSU. Like, it got them that much closer to top eight seed. They're the number one team in the country in every poll right now.
Right.
So, look, it was a really successful weekend. And it's one that really gives you a lot of confidence heading into postseason play.
And I do think that, and you saw Jay talk about this during his press conference where he's like, I feel like I get up here and I have to answer questions like we're not good because of, I guess, the conjecture around the LSU baseball teams at some points where people want to see them play perfectly, but it's an imperfect game. It's a game of failure. And LSU is doing that better than anybody in the country right now. As they're the number one ranked team in the country, and you're still having questions about, certain things in the LSU baseball office. But I guess the reason that is because of what you just highlighted on Sunday, which is it's the same problem every time. You're in a 5-4 baseball game going into the ninth with a chance to sweep, and you rely on 3 guys out of the bullpen that can't throw 4 that can't throw strikes.
Yeah,
and I think that's what people focus on. So they're like, oh, they don't have enough.
So here's one point I did want to make, and we'll spend like 5 minutes on South Carolina and get everybody out of here. But one point I had been talking about with a couple of people is, do I think this LSU team can win a national championship? Yes. Do I think they can get to Omaha? Yes. My concern is, besides there are 5 guys, Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson, Zach Cowan, Kason Evans, and Chase Shores. 5 guys I trust. Chase Shores specifically, I trust him out of the bullpen. He hasn't, starting-wise, he hasn't done much. But those are the 5 guys, Shores, Evans, Anderson, Ianson, and Cowan, the guys that I trust. The thing is, in Omaha or in a regional, you're going to need more pitchers to step up than that. Like, you're going to have to win games with Maverick Rizzi, with Connor Ware, with guys like that. And so, look, that's my concern as far as the postseason, as far as Omaha, is like, I have 5 guys I trust right now, pitching staff-wise. The other guys, I've seen good things, but it's not consistently good. Like, that's the thing. And especially with being able to throw strikes. Like, that's my biggest concern heading into postseason. Do I think this team can make it to a national championship, can win it? Yes. But you have to have 1 or 2 of those other guys step up.
And you've been waiting, and you've seen them all get opportunities, correct? Like, you've seen, and that's why you have 4 people throw in the 9th inning, because you're trying to find somebody that maybe can stranglehold this 6th spot, that you can kind of find more trust in somebody, whether it be like the names that you listed, Jacob Myers you've seen, William Schmidt you see continue to come in and I would say struggle, and then I guess the other one on that list would be Newt, who's pitched well, and he's starting to kind of take that kind of the one I trust the most outside of your top 4 arms.
Yeah. I'd say, and the thing is going back to, I don't like comparing championship teams to like this team, but like I'm gonna do it anyway. 2023, if we look back, Lloyd, heading into the postseason, the bullpen for the 2023 team was not in the greatest shape heading into that postseason. But you had guys step up. Like Riley Cooper, not saying he was bad in the regular season, but he wasn't Riley Cooper postseason. He wasn't as good as that guy was. That guy was different. That guy came in every game and got you outs and was solid every single game. So, look, you're going to need another guy, 1 or 2 more guys, like Riley Cooper did in the postseason. I mean, Will Helmers stepped up. And I know we lost the game, but the dude had the game of his life in the postseason to where you had the lead in the 7th inning against North Carolina. And I'm about to go to a super regional that you're going to host. And so you're going to need 1 or 2 of those other guys outside of those 5 arms I just listed to step up. Like, that's just what you're going to need. And we've seen it at LSU in the past. South Carolina, if you just want a few stats on South Carolina, they're 27-26 overall. They're 5-22 in SEC play. They've lost 7 straight SEC games. They have a miserable 9.27 team ERA in conference play, which is second worst in the conference. They have a 264 team batting average in SEC play, which is tied for 8th in the conference. And then they only have one pitcher, Ashton Crowther, with an ERA below a 5 in conference play. So, like, this pitching staff has been miserable, pretty bad in conference play for South Carolina. However, this is a big series for their team. And the reason why is they're not going to play any more baseball after Hoover. They're not going to be in the postseason. So this is their chance for their seniors, for their guys, their last home series, their last home games against the number 1 team in the country. They're gonna be up for it, especially with a coach like Paul Mainieri, who probably has a point to prove this weekend or wants to try to prove this weekend. So, Mainieri, what he did at LSU, 4-time National Coach of the Year at LSU, we won the championship in 2009. 6 SEC tournament titles, and made 5 Omaha College World Series appearances with LSU. So, yeah, this team won't play any postseason baseball after Hoover. So, this is a big weekend for them. And, I know we can look at them and we could say, oh, they're terrible, and they have been. But, I would say look at Missouri. Look at what they just did. Texas A&M had all the momentum. 0-24, Missouri. Not only win the series, they sweep them. And they do it in Game 2 and Game 3 in dominating fashion. They won 10-1 in Game 3. It's baseball is the only sport. I don't want to say the only sport, but it's there's sports where if you're hot, you're hot. If you catch it on the right weekend, any team can beat any team. So, look, as far as, yes, this LSU team should handle their business this weekend. They should. But it's baseball. So, yeah, that's kind of what... Now, as far as what I want to see this weekend, I've talked about it before. This LSU lineup has hit a lot better at home than they have on the road. On the road, this LSU lineup has struggled, especially in their past 2 SEC series against Auburn and Texas A&M. So, you got a shot against a really bad pitching staff to change that this weekend. And you really need to. You really need to. So, go out there, flex your muscle, and do it on the road this time. We know you can hit in the Alex box. We know you can. Do it on the road this time against a pitching staff that has been really struggling lately. Gave up 26 runs in one game last weekend to Auburn. So, flex your muscle, and this time do it on the road. And then one more point. Look for improvement. I just want to see a little bit more efficiency from Kason Evans this weekend. I think Kason has a good shot to be, the Sunday starter, the third starter. I think he has potential and he has the stuff. I'll be looking at his pitch count after 3 innings. That's what I'll be looking at. How many pitches has he thrown through 3 innings against South Carolina? That's the thing I'll be looking at. As far as this weekend, it's a team that has really struggled in South Carolina, but it's baseball. Excited to see this team go up against Paul Mainieri. That's gonna be a little bit weird. Excited for, after this weekend, it's on to Hoover. It's on to SEC baseball. Postseason baseball is right around the corner. Want to see them hit better on the road. Want to see a little bit more efficiency from some guys like Kason Evans. And those are my main 2 things that I would like to see this weekend. Yeah, anything from you, Lloyd, before we head out as far as this weekend?
You touched on it a little bit, but I do think the Paul Mainieri dynamic is one that's going to be very interesting. Because like you said, for South Carolina, they're most likely not going to play any postseason baseball outside of Hoover. But you've seen Paul be able to kind of go on these runs in the SEC tournament. I don't know if he wants to get that started now, try to find some momentum, because I do think that this series maybe means more to him than what meets the eye, because I don't think he really ever wanted to. It's unfortunate the way that he left with his health was obviously in a bad spot, but he also came back for a reason because he thinks he can still coach. And so I do think that there's a little bit of, maybe in his mind, he feels like he was forced out, and that, LSU had kind of run its course, and they were ready to get a new head coach, and he wasn't ready to leave. And so I do think there's something I want to prove to them that I can still do it type mentality, and that could spark something in South Carolina, but I don't know. At some point, talent wins out. LSU clearly more talented, but like I said, Paul Mainieri could enforce a little bit of, we're playing for something more than just, wins and losses here. It's like, it's more important to me. And then you have an LSU team that doesn't need to really do anything outside of just playing the game. It feels very much solidified as a top 8 seed. I don't think if they get swept that it really means anything. And then they can go into Hoover, and maybe if you win one, I still think you're solidified as a top 8 seed regardless.
Yeah. As far as times this weekend closing out, first game, it is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series in Columbia at South Carolina. So first game Thursday night is at 6. Second game Friday night is also at 6. And then the closeout game, game 3, is Saturday at 2. One other point, kind of want to plug a watch party this Thursday night. This Thursday night, we will be doing a watch party for the Tingle and Co. now. Have to teach myself to remember to say that now. Tingle and Co. will be having a watch party for game 1 of the South Carolina series tomorrow, this Thursday, May 15th, at 6 o'clock for game 1 against South Carolina. Should be fun. Really excited. We haven't done a baseball watch party yet, or I haven't done one yet. I'm really excited for tomorrow. I'll be there. Lloyd, Noah, the rest of the guys, a lot of them will be there. So really excited for that. See what diabolical things they come up with on this wheel.
We do have a new wheel.
Yeah. But yeah, so excited for this weekend and excited for after this weekend conference tournament, postseason play. Excited to see what this LSU team can do. A lot of momentum, and let's see if they can continue it against old Paul Mainieri this weekend. Thank you, guys. Hope you have a good one. Like, comment, subscribe, and, have a good one.